Okay, so I had to change a little bit due to the nature of the book that I've brought in. Uh, Obviously, as we brought up earlier, the book I was initially planning on talking about, as a companion to what you were bringing up, which was Brian Azzarello's Before Watchmen, was Brian Azzarello's Joker, which is a famous book, probably the most famous Joker only book. It's called Joker. It deals with
Are you
the
forgetting
criminal
about the
element.
Killing Joke?
Well, I mean, that yes, but this is one just about the Joker, whereas that's very much like that is a Batman story for sure.
That's
This
fair.
is just Joker. This is both Killing Joke. We're gonna do a Killing Joke episode one day where we talk about Bruce Wayne and Bruce Timm's fetish for Barbara Gordon. Don't worry,
Can we not?
calm down.
Can we
We'll get
not?
there one day.
You can do that with Brian.
Oh, I will. I will, and you're gonna watch it. We'll be in here.
But yes, Barbara Gordon.
But Barbara Gordon, the goth patty, comic form. Uh, I'm
Um,
here. I'm here to talk about since Joker Folie à Deux is coming out. I'm here to talk about Batman Mad Love, written by Paul Dini and illustrated by Bruce Timm. Now, a lot of people will know this story, know this name, if they had watched the animated series. Batman, the animated series, obviously created by Bruce Timm, and people like Paul Dini and Darwin Cook come from that whole world of the animated series. We were talking about the DCAU earlier today. Um, Seminal series
yeah,
defining for Batman. You know what I mean? Redefining for Batman, really. I mean, it came out as kind of a a uh, a series to go along with the Tim Burton films that were coming out at the time, but Batman
yeah,
the Animated Series really carved its own area, its own world and like corner of Batman, like a huge chunk of Batman that is very influential to, you know, interpretations to this very day.
yeah. I'd say
Um,
maybe the most notable being the Arkham series.
Yeah, the Arkham series, the fact that uh, Robert Pattinson's Batman refers to himself as Vengeance,
Yep.
Harley Quinn as a character is
Yeah,
from this series,
we
which
have
I think a
Bruce
lot
Timm
of
to
people,
blame for Harley.
yeah, no, yeah, and what's funny is I think a lot of people tend to forget that character that is as iconic now as Harley Quinn, which has evolved so heavily. It all stems from this cartoon show meant for children.
Yeah,
And
and she
Mad
wasn't even
Love,
intended to be. She wasn't even intended to be a recurring character. She was just supposed to be a one-off, which
yeah,
is kind of crazy to think about. And she's only in that episode. Um, it's Gordon's something. She's only in that episode for probably like 7 minutes of screen time. It's not that much.
yeah.
She didn't have a super big role. But yeah, she just kind of like blew up in popularity. And Bruce Timm was like, "All right, I'm putting my OC into the rest of this series.
Oh yeah.
My Sonic
Um,
OC."
and I mean, I think a lot of that is due to not only her look, not only the dynamic between her and the Joker, but the voice of Arlene Sorkin,
Yeah,
which Tara Strong would later, inhabit the role afterwards. But uh, this is a very iconic character, and Mad Love, the episode that many people have seen in the animated series, is an adaptation of this issue from the Batman Adventures, which was a companion to the animated series.
yeah.
The original book is written by Paul Dini and illustrated by Bruce Timm, so it's the same kind of duo in the episode. And this is a very so okay. I read this for the first time yesterday. I've seen the episode before, and they're very shot for shot, panel for panel. A
Yeah.
lot of the dialogue is the same in the episode as it is in this issue, but the overall feel of this is much more, I would say, mature, uh,
Yeah.
much more brutal in this. You see a lot more of what's implied in the episode, and I really appreciate that back then. And again, this came out before the episode was produced. Um, I really appreciate that they were more interested in telling rounded stories emotionally, mixing that with kind of the campiness of the animated series, because this is, I mean, if you look at this cover, obviously it's very cartoony, just looking at it, you'd imagine this is for children, but really
Yeah, it's
there's
not.
blood. No, it's not, dude. And one thing that I have to bring up is that I think it's tough. I think this is better than the episode. I do.
Yeah, I think to the degree that they were able to get away with more, like, because I mean, Bruce Timm has talked about this too. Like, he had to fight with the censors quite a bit
Yeah.
during the production of Batman the Animated Series. And there was a lot that had to be altered or um, just couldn't be shown outright. And so I
Like his
think to the
origin.
degree that they were freer in writing that comic book. I think you get a better sense of the dynamic between Harley and Joker, and I think it's a little clearer because and this is part of like my gripe about uh Harley's character is I feel like people kind of just gloss over how unhealthy her relationship with the Joker is. I feel like that's
Yeah, yeah,
not that it's
absolutely.
never acknowledged, but that people kind of gloss over it.
Yeah,
And I feel like you get a better sense of that in the comic book than you do in the show.
I absolutely agree. I rewatched the episode this morning to prepare so I could kind of compare and contrast between the book and what was eventually produced. And even though the episode rightfully so, is held up as kind of a cautionary tale
Yeah.
against abusive relationships. There's still a very zany quality, especially at the very end when Harley's in the asylum. She gets the rose and everything, and it's kind of played up like, oh, back at it again. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
here,
It's very sanitized.
yeah, exactly. Since this is more interpretive, it's a comic book, so there's not the music. You can decide what the voices sound like in this. Um, and even with the art style, there's a very sad element to this story in book form. And the reason I say it's superior to the episode, which is crazy because it's pretty much one and one.
It's made
The
by the
thing
same
that
people.
It's made by the same people, same dialogue, 99.9% the same dialogue and everything, same structure. The reason I say that this is better is because it has the original character designs from the first two seasons of the animated
I
series.
was gonna say, right, there's well, I think the Joker isn't Joker in that he looks more like he looks more like how he appears in the Justice League, right? Where he's
Yes,
got
and
the
Batman Beyond Return of the Joker.
yeah, because
Um
there were three distinct periods in Joker's design during the DCAU. There was the early design which you see in like the first, I think three, because there's four seasons of BTS, right?
well, it's a little confusing because Max doesn't have it like Amazon has it, structured one way. Max has it structured another way. Like some seasons have like 30 plus episodes, some have like 20,
Yeah.
so I'm just going from what Max says. Um, it's three.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so like the first, basically like prior to the revival as the new Batman Adventures, you have that version of Joker's design, which you see in Mask of the Phantasm. And then when they did the art style shift for the new Batman Adventures, he has the very weird kind of design where it's a lot more
Yeah,
simplified, it's a lot more streamlined, and he's got like the black eyes with like the little white dots.
the
And
Mickey
then they
Mouse look.
redesigned him slightly so his features are a little more less cartoonish looking.
Yeah.
His facial features revert a little bit more to how he looked initially for like Justice League, JLU, and Batman Beyond.
Yeah, for me, that look you just brought up, the look that's interpreted in this book is the look for
Yeah, I
this
agree.
version of the Joker. Because it's truly it's the perfect balance between the fun aspect of the character and the really horrifying aspect. I want to show this panel, and I'll put it up an image right here, but you'll see it actually is. this
Yeah,
panel right here of the Joker. I
yeah.
mean, I
You have
it's
who tied up where?
you have who tied up where? You know, it's like, it's pretty. The art in this book, Bruce Timm outdid himself because it's very expressive. It has that Darwin Cook flavor to it.
Yeah,
But it gets dark. There's a lot of like subtle darkness in the artwork of this book, and I absolutely love how sad it can get.
yeah,
Um, but one thing I am happy that they changed for the episode that they kind of left out and has been kind of left out since this issue is in this book they insinuate they straight up say, but they show that Harley wasn't, when she was going to school, she wasn't the best like psychology, and she had to
yeah,
like sleep around with some of her they insinuate that she had to, sleep with her teachers to get a better grade, which is
yeah.
why she is easily
Why she's
uh
more
taken
vulnerable to
over.
the Joker. Yeah,
Right. And I'm very glad they left that out because I think it's more impactful if she is a top of her game psychologist.
yeah,
It really hones in the message more. So I really appreciate that that was left out of the episode.
yeah.
And
I think it
yeah,
works. Like, I think both work. I think like people like kind of quibble about like if Harley really was um this really great psychiatrist, like how was she able to be taken in so easily by the Joker? And that kind of, and they do something, they kind of do a similar rewrite with her backstory in the Batman cartoon, the Matsuda cartoon, where she's not like a psychiatrist or a psychologist. She's basically like she's almost like a kind of she's like a why am I forgetting you are the father. Why am I forgetting his name?
oh, like Maury.
Yeah, Maury Povich. She's almost like a kind of
Yeah.
Maury Povich-esque, kind of like trashy, like
uh
TV host, kind of.
yeah.
Or no, no, sorry, not I think a better metaphor would be
What, Jerry
Dr.
Springer or
Drew.
so?
I think Dr. Drew would be a better metaphor.
Oh, Dr. Drew. Okay, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's actually like a psychologist. So yeah,
Right.
I think that's probably a better metaphor. But yeah, I think it does drive home. It does, I think both work, but I do think the having Harley actually be genuinely talented drives home the Joker's ability to seduce people. And the other thing too is like it's not out of the realm of possibility for that to happen. I think
Yeah, no, of course.
I think I mentioned I think I mentioned to you, I think I mentioned this to you, how one of the things that I thought would be interesting would be, obviously Paul Dano's Riddler is partially inspired by the Zodiac Killer. And I was
Yeah.
thinking like um if they wanted to do like the Joker later on for Reeves's Batman, I felt like Charles Manson would be a perfect source of inspiration.
Hmm.
In particular, like some of his mannerisms and the way in which he was able to manipulate people. Um, and Manson, I mean, like Manson penetrated really, really deeply into like Hollywood and entertainment circles.
Yeah.
Like reading about
He
like some of
knew
the people that he
the
was able to
Beach
charm.
Boys.
Say again?
He knew the Beach Boys. He was a
Oh,
upcoming
he knew
musician
like
and
basically
everything.
all of the Laurel Canyon bands.
Yeah.
Like I think he was familiar with the Byrds. He hung around with the Mamas and the Papas. He's obviously friends with Terry Melcher, who is Doris Day's son. Yeah, he like people still today are like uncomfortable to talk about like how deeply integrated he was into like that set of like that part of Hollywood society because his reach ran really deep. Um,
Yeah.
I think like yeah, it's like learning about like psychopaths like that, and how they were able to charm powerful people. Like it's not when you learn about stuff like that, you realize like stuff like the Joker seducing Harley, like it's not by any means out of the realm of
It's not
possibility.
far-fetched. And
No, no.
I would hope that they go in that direction with Barry Koenig's um
Yeah.
or is it Koenig or Keegan?
I have no
This
clue.
Reeves.
Irish is really hard for me. The romanization is weird. It's really hard for me to pronounce.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's Keegan, I think.
Keegan, right?
I think.
I will go with that, respect if it's wrong. But uh I have a feeling they would go with that. What's interesting about this story, which I've always looked at as a cautionary tale, and I've always appreciated about the character of Harley Quinn, and unfortunately a lot of people miss. What's interesting is that we've seen interpretations of this kind of story with like, failed versions like in Suicide Squad with Jared
Yeah.
Leto, but we're about to see a new one with Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga where they're taking very big liberties with the story where
Yeah.
they feel much more like Bonnie and Clyde, just insane rather than a Manson type of uh you know duo.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious how they're going to take something that dealt with a very serious manner in a cartoon setting and bring it to a hyper realistic world as the Todd Phillips interpretation of Gotham. What do you think about that?
I'm interested, and I think more than anything else, I am interested to see because it seems like Harley's going to be the more kind of dominant or domineering partner in that relationship, and seems like
Yeah.
she's going to be the one who um, is really pushing Arthur kind of further into insanity and mental instability. So I'm interested to see that. I'm interested to see how that's going to play out. I wish I had grabbed. I'll probably see it on Tuesdays because Tuesdays you can get discounts at AMC. So I'll probably go see it. Probably go see it a Tuesday when I'm off. I would have liked to have seen it because I saw the original on opening night. I just don't have the time. I just don't have the time
Course.
to see this one on opening night. But I definitely want to go see it in theater while it's still there.
Well, that's a really good point that you brought up about the whole dominating aspect of it. And something I really appreciate about this story is that in Mad Love they kind of illustrate how, first of all, they illustrate how truly evil the Joker is, but also how in many ways he- like Harley is a much more competent criminal than him.
Yeah,
In like she's the one who takes his plan, uh, and enacts it and catches Batman. And if he didn't kind of get her to bring the Joker in, it would have been done.
yeah,
And there's a really cool, which I picked up today while watching the episode. There's a really cool moment where yeah, the Joker's like a hack, like a complete hack. He thinks he's this comedic genius, but he's a hack, and it's proven when, Batman's all tied up and Joker's like, I'm going to leave now. Oh, this is going to be great. And then he's like, but then again, and then he goes back and he pulls out his gun. He's just gonna shoot him, like Harley earlier in the episode advised him to do, and he fucking yelled at her for it. So it just shows how much of a hack he is versus her, who is much more. I think if she cared more about Batman, would be more formidable than the Joker.
yeah, yeah. I would say it also does a really good job of illustrating the Joker's narcissism as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and reading this issue, because of the whole creative team behind it, the art style and everything, the fact that there is an episode, it's easy to picture the voices of Mark Hamill, Kevin
Yeah,
Conroy, Arlene Sorkin, and yeah, this is like the darkest Looney Tunes book you could ever read.
it's appropriate. The I feel like the comparison to Looney Tunes is appropriate in a way.
Yeah.
I'm not sure
Well,
why it feels appropriate, but it does.
you know what? I looked at the back and I looked at this right here. It was just like, yep,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, so I love this story. I love that Harley Quinn is as prevalent as she is now. And I appreciate also, and I'm curious what you think about this before we wrap it up. I appreciate that Harley has become more of transforming from a cautionary tale to a story of empowerment, you know,
Um,
because now
I
she's
don't know.
more of an
I think I've talked
anti-hero.
to you. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm just saying now she's more of an anti-hero rather than like a reform. She's a well, anti-hero slash reformed criminal. I'll say that.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I have very mixed feelings about it. I my general feeling is that I don't think that Harley works as well as a character when she's separated from the Joker. Um,
Okay.
I think she, and even when she is separated from the Joker, I think she works best when she is paired with another character. I don't know that she's a character who stands super well on her own. Like, I think, like if she's not paired with the Joker, I think she kind of has to be paired with Ivy. Um,
Right,
I,
right.
so I think that's one thing that I'll say. The other thing I will say is that I kind of don't like, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about the attempts to rehabilitate both her and Ivy. Um, because depending on what version of the character we're talking about, like, I mean, at minimum, Harley, simply by being around the Joker, has to have been party to some pretty awful things.
It's
Um,
yeah.
and it's kind of hard, and depending on which version we're talking about, she may have even, abetted the murder of Jason Todd, which is a pretty big event in the Batman mythos. It's kind of hard to come back from all that. I mean, I'm not comfortable saying that her turn is completely justified. And I also don't think that I also have an issue with how her romantic relationship with Ivy is portrayed. Because I think realistically it would be a lot more toxic than it is often portrayed as.
Hmm.
And they've kind of tried to address that where basically like because of the way in which because of the way that Ivy's regenerative abilities work, um, that basically causes like a weird split in her personality. Um, and basically she develops like two different dissociative identities, and one is kind of more um overtly villainous and toxic, and the other is like her like better side. Um, and it kind of works and it kind of doesn't. Like I think the thing that people need to remember about Ivy when I as I'm making this critique, I think the thing that people need to remember about Ivy is that she's not a good person. She's basically like not to be too down on Valerie Solanas, because I understand that she had a really awful life, especially a really awful early life. But Ivy is basically like the love child of Valerie Solanas and Ted Kaczynski. Um, she's she's not a good person. Um, and I think, like I said, plausibly their relationship would be a lot more toxic. It would probably be as toxic at minimum, um, as toxic as Harley's relationship with Joker. And you kind of see that a little bit in the animated series. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I have very mixed feelings about the way in which Harley's character has evolved. Not to say that there isn't like new content with Harley that I enjoy. I do. Um, in particular, the animated Harley Quinn show. I actually enjoy that quite a bit. But yeah, I'm there's definitely still issues with Harley's character, um, from my perspective, that I don't think have been adequately addressed, and I don't know. Like her, I'm less comfortable with her position as like an anti-hero or an anti-villain, however you want to phrase it, compared to a character like Catwoman, where like from what I remember of like the deep lore, like the worst that Catwoman has really been involved in up until recently, when I don't, God knows why, they tried to write it so that she like tried to pull kind of like a Red Hood and like take control of Gotham's underworld. But like in general, like the worst thing that Catwoman has done is like steal things from rich, often very corrupt people. Like it's fairly easy to rehabilitate
Yeah, yeah.
Catwoman. And I think it's a lot harder to rehabilitate Harley, if you
It
actually take a
is.
look at her character. So yeah, I'm
Absolutely. Yeah,
So
what
from
I'll
that
say,
perspective, I'm uncomfortable with it.
no, I get it, and that's totally justified. I think the reason why it's mixed, and it's mixed for me, even someone who appreciates the turn, is is that, well, for one thing, there are so many different like renditions of the character
Yeah,
that, and so many different examples to pull from of where they've either made her, they've tried to put her in the Justice League in some areas. They've had her
which I
become an
hate.
old
I hate.
woman and had Dee Dee's as the as grandchildren, right? And she's just
Yeah,
this bitter old woman. She's with Poison Ivy, right? Um, I kind of look at it, her journey, very similarly to how audiences react to like Deadpool's journey. Like Deadpool is someone who started out as a mercenary, as a villain in comic books, and slowly over the course of Marvel's history became, I think everyone would be comfortable with calling Deadpool an anti-hero.
yeah,
It's especially lately. And that's kind of the thing, is like, morally, I think we're always going to be at a crossroads with these characters. I think the better question is whether or not we can like picture them not rehabilitating to the public, but for themselves. You know what I mean? At least trying to make better choices as they progress. You
sure.
know, that's kind of the thing about like the anti-hero, as like there's also the Punisher out there. There's also characters like Rorschach. There's also characters like even someone like Dr. Manhattan to a certain degree, you
Sure.
know? Yeah, that's what makes these characters really fascinating. That's what makes a book like this really compelling as well. Uh,
I think
I
that's a good
recommend it
point.
to everybody.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah, I say I'm interested to see how Harley's character continues to develop. Especially now, because I'm assuming they're probably going to go with someone other than Margot Robbie. I think Margot Robbie has said also that she would be interested to see other people play Harley Quinn. So I'm assuming they're going to go with a different actress for the DCU. So I'm interested to um, see what her trajectory is on film on the big screen now. Now that
Hmm.
Gunn's in charge, especially given that it seems like when you say we should also acknowledge that rendition of Creature Commandos Peacemaker is coming out, I think, relatively soon as well. I think early next year.
Yeah,
And that
yeah.
seems like
I
it's
think
gonna do some
is
explaining in
it
terms of like the differences between the old DCU and the new DCU.
is it after Superman? Peacemaker season
Um,
2?
that's a good question. I
I think
don't.
it is. I believe it is. Because I believe Rick Flag Sr., played by uh Frank Grillo, I believe he's in Superman somehow. I don't know how, but I've heard that Frank Grillo will show up as Rick
He
Flag
will show
Sr.
up.
I don't know
It's-
what to what capacity that will be, but yeah, they're trying to really bring it all together, and I hope Peacemaker 2 brings up why things are different and some things aren't different.
yeah. So it just says streaming. It'll be set to stream on Max in 2025. Doesn't say when. Um,
Okay,
which Superman is set to debut. Let's see.
in July of next year, I believe. I believe it's July.
Yes, July 11th.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
think um, and filming did take place at the same time. So yeah, I'll be interested to see which one comes out first. Um,
yeah.
I feel like it would make sense to do Peacemaker before just to kind of get people used to like, okay, yeah, like this is what's going on, like this is why the universe is different. Um, yeah, I'll be interested to see. I'll be interested to see.
Yeah, well, since we're talking about I'm going to say this very briefly, very quickly before we end. Since we're talking about the DCU and also Joker and Harley Quinn, I've started watching Barry, the
Oh,
the
really?
show with Bill Hader.
Yes, I love
Yes.
Barry.
Uh, oh my God, what an amazing show! What a sad show! What a fucking great show!
Yeah,
I would really like it. Okay, and I know this, I might be laughed at. Okay, but I don't care. I
I
would
think I know where you're
really
going
like
with
it.
this.
I would really. I can hear you chuckling already. I would really enjoy and be really sold if Bill Hader was cast as the DCU's Joker. I would really be cool with that.
Okay, so I initially thought you were going to say Deadshot, so
Oh
I did not.
no, no. I mean, I could see that, but I think he would be really interesting as the Joker. I've said Plastic Man in the past, but no, seeing the pathos he brings in to that show, I would be really interested in that. And it would be it would be a really interesting like blend of like the what we've seen with the Joker and like Heath Ledger and that animated series quality. I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, I'm interested to see that. I don't know. I'm trying to think like who I would cast as DC Joker. I would need to think about that. I know like everyone is like, oh, get Willem Dafoe. It's like, we've
Please.
already seen Willem Dafoe's Joker. He just played the Joker. He played the Joker in Spider-Man 1. We've already
No,
seen what his Joker performance would look like.
no,
Um,
I need the phone.
you can't do this to me. You know how much I've sacrificed? Yeah. But yeah, I think, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I would need to think about that. Because you think, I don't know, because I guess we don't really know how old Bruce is supposed to be or is going to be
I
in
would imagine he's in like his 40s, right? Because he has a son
probably
at this point.
probably, I mean, at the very least, like late 30s. I mean, I have to believe that they're gonna, I think we've talked about this, that they have to compress the timeline in terms of like, oh, this is when Dick is Robin, this is when Jason is Robin, this has been Tim, and Damian is Robin, like what they did with the New 52. So yeah,
Yeah.
probably very late 30s, very early 40s.
They're gonna go with the Robert Downey Jr. approach of casting Batman. When they want to get someone who's like not middle, well, I guess kind of middle aged, but like someone who's like early 40s like Downey was when he was Iron Man, and
Yeah,
they'd last for like 10 years, 12 at
yeah,
the most as Batman, and then move on to uh w- uh like I don't know if it would be Dick who would take over as Batman or whatever.
probably.
Yeah, I would hope. I'm
Yeah.
fine with that.
I mean, Damien is canon ultimately.
Yeah.
He is ultimately the canon successor. So, but yeah, yeah, I'm not sure who I would cast as Joker. I would need to think about that. That's tough. Yeah, I don't
I'm
know.
starting it now. Bill Hader as the Joker.
Because I'm trying to think
Let's
about
go.
like who is like a good because now you've got me in frame of thinking like comedic actors. I'm trying to think of like who would be good for that. Yeah, I don't know. I would need
Yeah,
to think.
they don't usually cast that way, like getting a someone
No,
who's a comedian for the Joker, you know?
no. I mean, they don't often do that for like superheroes generally. I feel like the exception to that would be someone like Chris Pratt, and then obviously like Mike Keaton. Um,
Yeah, or Kumail Nanjiani uh as like what's his name? Kingo, I believe in the Eternals.
yes,
Uh
yeah,
Booster Gold rumored.
yeah. I need to say I don't know. I haven't heard if that one's confirmed or not. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. I would need to think about that. I would need to think about that. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, when I have you on in November to talk about either Watchmen or Doomsday Clock or both,
Yeah,
the Watchmen epic episode, we'll talk a little bit more about that.
for sure, for
But
sure.
Exley, my boy, we did it.
We have. I need to
Yes.
eat now.
Me too. Nah, I gotta get to class now, bro.
Yeah,
But
go
hey,
get to class.
I will get to class. But hey, man, thank you so much for helping me out with this episode. I
Of
love
course.
talking comic books with you. I love podcasting with you.
Hey,
And I'll see you soon because we still got some work to do on Golden Hour and everything. And we
this is
got a
true.
busy month, man. We got a
This is
busy
true.
month. So, is there anything lastly you want to say? Maybe sell the people on our film a little?
Oh, you're putting me under a lot of pressure here. Um, I mean, I guess what I will say is, that's tough. I think what I would say is that if you are a fan of, um, kind of the classic like 70s, 80s slasher, um, and are also into kind of more what would you say? More meta horror. Like stuff like kind of Night of the Living Dead that is very like sort of genre aware. Um, I think
Scream
you'll
also.
say again.
Scream also.
Yes, yeah, Scream. Yeah, Scream is a better comparison. I think you'll probably like this. It's definitely I think yeah. Now that you mentioned Scream, I always forget about Scream. I haven't even seen any of those movies. But yeah, I think Scream is an apt
What?
comparison for sure.
Well, here's my selling of Golden Hour. My boy Exley's in it. Come on. The
That's fair.
Chad is in it.
Also Harrison and briefly Brian.
Veronica Harrison, Exley, other people
Other
are in
people.
it. It is the epic. And if you've seen our the short film that we have on this channel called The Podcast, you might want to tune into this because who knows? Who knows why? Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows?
As we've been saying since the beginning of since the day I showed you the script, Exley, it's going to be great.
This is gonna be great.
All right, Exley, thank you so much for helping me out,
Of course.
guys. Do that YouTube crap, the liking, the sharing, and the subscribing.
Hit the
Uh,
bell.
hit bell, bro. And yeah, please read some comics and tolerate them. Have a good one. Stay safe.
DC needs the
And
money.
goodbye.